Welcome to this explainer from the Foundry by Forge College. So, in our last session, we essentially built the central nervous system of your Solana application, right? We set up those slick, automated CI testing and deployment pipelines. We've got this beautifully complex system deploying flawlessly. But, as any developer will tell you, just because your code compiles definitely doesn't mean it's going to survive actual contact with real users. Today, we're transitioning from just building out data handling strategies to actively evaluating, optimizing, and fine-tuning them in the wild.
You've built the body of your dApp, and your CI/CD pipeline is humming along perfectly. But think about it like this. Just because a patient has a pulse on the operating table, it doesn't mean they're ready to jump up and run a marathon. How do you actually know if your off-chain indexer is lagging? Or what if your users are just sitting there staring at a spinning loading wheel just to see their own wallet balance? Spoiler alert here. Crossing your fingers and hoping they just refresh the page? Yeah, that is not a viable engineering strategy.
Okay, let's take a look at our blueprint for today's diagnostic session. We'll cover why measure, the classes of metrics, baselines and targets, the diagnostic loop, scoring optimizations, and finally, the comparison table. Let's dive in.
Section 1. Why measure? Taking your dApp's vitals.
Here's the golden rule. Evidence must absolutely always trump intuition. When you're finalizing a production rollout, you literally cannot just turn to your team and say, well, I think our Arweave integration feels fast enough. That doesn't cut it. If metadata is taking too long to load, you need hard, undeniable data showing exactly where that bottleneck lives. You have to measure, iterate, and prove it with actual evidence before you lock in your architecture. Gut feelings just aren't going to cure latency.
Moving on to Section 2. Classes of metrics. The 3 vitals of dApp health.
We can basically break all the chaos of system monitoring down into 3 distinct buckets. First up, we have operational metrics. This is your system's health under heavy load, things like throughput and write latency. Next, we have data integrity, which is massively important in Web3. You absolutely have to guarantee that your off-chain data perfectly matches your on-chain references. Are there missing receipts? You need to know. And finally, user and business metrics. This is the ultimate test, right? Load times, conversion rates. Because honestly, a technically flawless backend means absolutely nothing if the end-user experience is a total disaster.
Now, before we go any further, we really need to address a super common trap that developers fall into. Averages lie. Seriously, if you're only looking at an average response time, your P50 or your median might look absolutely fantastic. Everything seems fine. But we need to care deeply about the P99 tail latency. This metric reveals the absolute worst-case scenario. When you diagnose your P99, you are looking directly into the eyes of that one poor user who is stuck waiting endlessly for their transaction to confirm, usually because some rogue batch process in the background is hogging all your resources. In the Web3 space, those tail-end issues, those are exactly what cause failed transactions and generate those extremely angry Discord messages.
All right, Section 3, Baselines and Targets, Reading the Patient's Chart.
By meticulously charting out our data flows, we can set very specific, actionable thresholds. Take a look at reference writes. A P95 baseline of 3,200 milliseconds? That is way too slow. Our healthy target should be bringing that under 1,200. For archival retrievals, let's say pulling media from permanent storage takes about 1,800 milliseconds on average. Well, we need that P95 to be under 900. And for indexer updates, seeing a 12-second lag during a stress test is a massive red flag for real-time feedback. We need to get that under 30 seconds. If you don't write these targets down in ink, you are essentially flying blind.
Which brings us to Section 4, the diagnostic loop. Observe, diagnose, and act.
Think of this as your operational rhythm. It's a highly disciplined 3-step cycle. Step 1 is observe. This means continuous telemetry and setting up alerts. You literally set an alarm to go off the second that P99 latency crosses your threshold. Step 2 is diagnose. Now, when that alarm rings, you don't just panic and start changing code wildly, right? You investigate your downstream dependencies, you check your staging environment, and you formulate a solid concrete hypothesis. And finally, Step 3, act. You apply a targeted fix. The real secret here is that every single action you take must be verifiable and super easy to roll back just in case the patient rejects the treatment.
Section 5. Scoring optimizations. Triage for your roadmap.
Look, you are going to find a lot of bugs, but let's be real, you only have so many engineering hours in a day. This lightweight scoring matrix handles priority brilliantly. It's just user impact, multiplied by your confidence in the fix, and then divided by the engineering effort required. High impact, high confidence, and it only takes 2 hours of work? Boom, top of the sprint. But if it's going to take 3 weeks of effort for some tiny little visual fix, yeah, we're going to push that way down the roadmap.
Once you've actually scored your tasks, your actions are going to fall into one of 3 distinct buckets. First is immediate remediation. These are for the bleeding wounds. We're talking emergency hot fixes because your indexer has completely stalled out. Next is targeted optimization. This is more structural. Maybe you realize you need to refactor how you batch your non-critical writes to save on latency. And the last bucket is policy change, which is great because it doesn't even require writing new code. It's just adjusting a CDN cache rule or tweaking an archival retention limit. But remember, regardless of which bucket it falls into, every single action absolutely must have clear acceptance criteria attached to it so you can actually measure if the treatment worked.
And finally, Section 6, the comparison table, the final prescription. This right here is where we bridge your architecture artifacts directly to your actual engineering milestones. We take the baseline, we compare it against our target, we specify exactly what measurement method we're using, and then we link it directly to a roadmap action. So, if writes miss the target, our operational contract dictates that we prioritize batching in Sprint 3. It's brilliant because it makes your entire strategy totally accountable and links every missed target to an evidence-driven action on your roadmap.
So, I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. Before you go and finalize your dApp strategy, you need to stop guessing. A genuinely healthy dApp isn't one that just magically never breaks. It's one that tells you exactly where it hurts so you can go in and fix it efficiently. Listen to what your data is telling you. If you want to dive deeper into mastering Web3 data handling, telemetry, and explore a ton of other amazing programs, definitely head over and visit forge.college. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy building.